Economic Times Best BFSI Brands 2016 was held recently in Delhi to honor the best brands from the industry for their exemplary initiatives, practices and innovations across the banking, finance and the insurance sectors. The event was flagged off with the welcome address by Sunita Quadros, Business Head, Times Conferences Limited, BCCL.
Good evening, all of you. Today, this evening, the special focus for Best Brand is on the BFSI sector. And the importance of this sector is not lost on any one of us here. We've seen economies of scale shaken up, collapse when there's a small tremor in this sector. In India, we've, over the last 2 decades, witnessed that the sector has grown considerably. And during the phase of this growth, we've seen certain brands that have retained their supremacy, and we've seen certain brands that have come and created a mark on this landscape. Today, our endeavor here is to bring together these brands and recognize them for the work they've done in our country. Before I step down, I'd like to thank all of you once again and have a great evening. Thank you.
Now I would like to invite here Mr. Harish Bijur, the brand expert and founder of Harish Bijur Consults Inc., for the opening keynote address on the true value of a brand and brand valuation, consumer and business banking. Please join me as I now request and invite Mr. Harish Bijur.
It's an absolute pleasure being here at the Economic Times Best Brands BFSI Summit. The first point is, what is a brand? Just to simplify it, my definition of a brand is a simple one. I say the brand is a thought. The brand is a thought that lives in a person's mind. Full stop. This thought could be negative, this thought could be positive, and I think this thought is the value that we are talking about. So the Economic Times BFSI Best Brands Summit is really looking at this value. BFSI brands. There are 3 types of BFSI brands. The first one is what I call Gen 1 brands. Gen 1 was when banking was with the government to an extent. And these brands have very high credibility and very low service standards. Gen 2 brands were private sector brands. In came the private sector, high service and high credibility. And the third generation brands is government brands and private sector brands. It's not yet happened. Likely to happen. High service, very high service, even anecdotal service, but low credibility. Now, that's a serious point to make. That's a serious charge to look ahead. All I'm saying is, when we look at brands, brands are trust marks. Your bank, your insurance outfit, your whatever BFSI outfit is a trust mark. This trust mark needs to be preserved. Brand valuation has 2 currencies today. Whenever I value a brand, I value 2 things. See, the young in this country have 2 currencies. One is money, and the other is time. Money is equal to time. If not, time is more important than money to the young. Simply because money is something you can earn. Time is something you can only spend. So, essentially speaking, extremely critical to understand that you need to focus on stuff that you can only spend. People value time more than money. So in brand valuation terms, I really look at time as a very, very important issue. You know, what are the 6 things? These are the last thing I want to leave you with. What are the 6 things I think banks must do? Embrace technology in totality. Reinvent the power of 1:1 banking. That's 1. Embrace technology in totality. Reinvent the power of 1:1 banking completely. And this 1:1 banking is through the internet way and the digital way of doing business. The second thing, rethink inclusion with passion. Rethink inclusion with passion. The third way to really build brand equity for your brand of a bank is invest more in reputation management. Reputation management is about managing every single customer's interaction with your bank. The fourth point is invest in social media banking. If you're not social, you are anti-social. You can't be anti-social in the banking industry. You need to be social. Fifth one is invest in transparency banking. Banking industry has been opaque for far too long. Time to get transparent. And the last point, the sixth one is manage your branches as hyper-local brand beachheads. Manage your various branches. We have a humongous network of bank branches in this country. I think after the railway stations in India, it's the bank branches that come to the fore. How do you manage your bank branches? You manage it as a brand. You manage it as State Bank of India. No, I'm saying manage it as State Bank of India, Gauri Bidunur, the exact branch with a hinterland banking, which really says that Gauri Bidunur State Bank of India is totally different from the thousands of other branches that exist, because the Gauri Bidunur need, want, desire, and aspiration is different. Believe it or not, my dear friends, little drops of water make for that huge brand imagery at the end of the day. My dear friends, I think, in conclusion, I think we lie and rest at the cusp of a very exciting banking future. The nation is getting embroiled into banking in a manner which we never ever imagined it would get embroiled into banking. The challenges are going to be deep and wide. The stirring of the pot has just about begun. New licenses mean a lot of new things. New ways of banking mean a lot of things. New ways of payment gateways and payment methodologies mean a lot to the banking industry as such. I think overall the image is stirred but not shaken, thankfully, because we have a very solid and have a very robust banking industry in this country. We always keep touching wood and saying that, let this prevail forever. Thank you. Pleasure being here.
Ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned, we're really glad to have Mr. Manish Sisodia joining us, the Deputy Chief Minister of Delhi. Please join me, ladies and gentlemen, as I invite now Mr. Manish Sisodia.
नमस्कार। पिछले करीब एक साल में कोशिश की है, एक तो जो बेसिक प्रिंसिपल जिसके लिए लोग हमें सरकार में लेके आए, कि जो भी पॉलिसी बने, जो भी एग्जीक्यूशन हो, डिसीजन मेकिंग जो भी हो, उसके पीछे एक इंटेंट क्लियर होना चाहिए, उसके पीछे कोई लॉबिंग काम नहीं करनी चाहिए, उसके पीछे इनफैक्ट ऑनेस्टी होनी चाहिए। दिल्ली में टैक्सेशन के मतलब व्यापारियों के लिए टैक्सेशन के सारे प्रोसेसेस को जितना मैक्सिमम इजी कर सकते हैं उस हद तक लेके जाएंगे, चाहे वो टैक्स को कम करने का हो, आर्बिट्रेज ख़त्म करने का हो, या स्लैब्स अलग अलग तरह की ख़त्म करने का हो। हमारे चीफ मिनिस्टर का एक ही कहना है कि बिज़नेस करना सरकार का काम नहीं है, सरकार का काम है बिज़नेस को इजी बनाना। बिज़नेस तो बिजनेसमैन को करना है और उसी प्रिंसिपल पे हम लोग काम कर रहे हैं। टैक्सेशन को हम लोग ऊपर ना बढ़ाएं, बल्कि जितना उसको विस्तार दे सकें। अभी भी ऐसा नहीं है कि टैक्स कम दे रहे हैं लोग, टैक्स खूब लोग दे रहे हैं, लेकिन प्रॉब्लम है कि उसमें लीकेज है। उस लीकेज को जितना रोक सकें, उस लीकेज को जितना हम टेक्नोलॉजी से यूज़ करके, पब्लिक पार्टिसिपेशन से यूज़ करके रोक सकें, उसकी हमारी कोशिश है। और मैं समझता हूँ कि आप सब लोग भी इस बात से सहमत होंगे कि मिलके वी कैन ऑलवेज क्रिएट अ बेटर एनवायरनमेंट फॉर वर्किंग एंड लिविंग। थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर इनवाइटिंग मी हियर।
We are really glad that we have Mr. Amitabh Kant present with us, the CEO of Niti Aayog, the National Institution for Transforming India. So pleasure to have you here, sir, and may I now request and invite you for your address.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, in the last 68 years, we've made India very complex, very complicated, and a very difficult place to do business in. And one of the key things which we've tried to do during the last 2 years to make India extremely easy and simple. I think it's important to understand that we've built a lot of rules, regulations, procedures, paperwork, acts, and these need to be dismantled to allow Indian economy to really grow at rapid pace. The key challenge for India is that while we are growing at about 7.5% per annum, we need to grow at rates of 9 to 10% per annum over a 3-decade period to be able to lift a very young population above the poverty line. This is the key challenge. And this has been done by several countries post-World War II. This was done by Japan. This was done later by Korea. In recent times, China has done it over a very, very long period, lifted huge segments of their population above poverty lines. And therefore, India is the last giant economy to wake up from its slumber, and we need to sustain it over a very long period. No country in the world has grown for long periods without a very sharp spurt in its productivity levels. At the peak of its growth, China's total factor productivity levels were rising at the rate of about almost 84%. And therefore, productivity levels must rise. That's the key. And a huge amount of factor market reforms are necessary for that. Secondly, I think in all our decision-making processes, we need much greater level of predictability, consistency, and clarity of policies, which is what the government is working towards. Our tax department has become far more predictable and consistent. We need to sustain this across regulations, across our policy-making decisions, and that, to my mind, is the key. Thirdly, a huge amount of focus needs to be laid in building India's own brands. It's important that India must create its own brand. In the long run, high unit value realization comes from brand creation. And it's important to realize that India, in its last 68 years' history, has rarely been able to create brands. You go across the world, you'd rarely see Indian brands having been created. And therefore, it's good to be a generic producer, but beyond that, if you want to get into high unit value realization, Indian brands must be created. So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, it's important that we all work towards ensuring that India grows rapidly at rates of 9 to 10% over a 3-decade period. We make India a very easy and simple place to do business. We keep opening up our economy. We bring in greater predictability and consistency. And I think that's the route we are taking. And I think on the part of entrepreneurship, we are here to assist and support. We are here to facilitate. Government's role is that of a facilitator. As a catalyst, we'll be very delighted to assist you in all your endeavors to help you to create great brands and the best brands for India. And I think, lastly, I think there is a very critical and significant role for bankers to play in India's economy. As India continues to grow, we will require debt, we'll require long-term debt for India's infrastructure to take off. And bankers will have to continue to play a very critical role. Many of our banks will have to be capitalized. Many of our banks will require greater level of professional management, which is being done by bringing in young professionals. And I think banking sector will be the key to India's driving its growth and bringing in a revolutionary rate of growth of 9 to 10%. So I wish you all the best and a great future. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
We now have the unveiling of the BFSI Best Brands coffee table book. I'd like to invite here Mr. Shaktikanta Das for his address. Ladies and gentlemen, inviting respected Secretary, Department of Economic Affairs, Ministry of Finance for his address.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm extremely happy to participate in this event this evening with this kind of awards which many of you have won, and with the kind of initiatives which many of you have in your business plans in the coming year. I'm sure you will treat this event of today as a beginning of new initiatives, of new milestones to be achieved. Today, the current account deficit figures were released, and it was heartening to note that 2015-16, our current account deficit is 1.1% of GDP. It's a significant achievement over the previous year. Last year we had 1.3, and year before that, that's in 13-14, it was about 1.7% of GDP. So there is a consistent and there is a steady improvement in our current account deficit. If you see this figure along with our fiscal deficit, revenue deficit figures, and all the other macroeconomic parameters that we have, contextually we can say that today Indian economy is doing well. The fundamentals are robust, especially because when you have strong global headwinds, When rest of the world is not doing well, India today has recorded the highest growth rate last year, but we need to consolidate on that. The 7.6% growth last year is not enough. We have to do better, and I'm sure we can do better. If we are looking at dynamic entrepreneurship to be developed in our country, if we are looking at new entrepreneurship to sort of come into our country, then the entrepreneurs should be encouraged to invest, to fail, and again to reinvest. Many of you travel all over the world. You would have seen in US, failure of a business entity is not treated as a negative point. There is great value to those business entrepreneurs who have one or two failed attempts, because in the third or the fourth attempt, they do very well. And their failure experiences are also valued so much that each of them, becomes a hit when he moves on in life. So we have to bring in that culture of investing, of trying, of succeeding, and we should not start with the premise that a business will fail, but that risk-taking ability should be brought in. We have great opportunities. We have great challenges ahead of us. We have a huge demographic dividend. The demographic dividend has to be capitalized, and we have to find the jobs for the youngsters in our country. There's a huge challenge ahead of us, but I'm sure if all the players who are active in this particular area, not just in financial sector, but in other sectors, I am sure if we work together, we can certainly do much better for our country and much better for ourselves. So thank you once again for your patient listening.
The summit also acknowledged the contribution of organizations from the Indian BFSI industry, whose vision and continued efforts are helping shape the ecosystem into one of the most enviable in the world. The brands were selected through an extensive research and audit process in collaboration with MRSS India. The felicitation ceremony started with the banking category, with the State Bank of India being the first to be acknowledged in this category. The second honoree in the banking category was Yes Bank. Axis Bank was the next brand to be recognized in this category. The fourth brand to be felicitated in the banking category was IndusInd Bank. Shamrao Vittal Cooperative Bank was also felicitated for its contribution to the banking sector. Asset management was the second category, and the first brand to be felicitated was ICICI Prudential Asset Management Company. The second honoree in this category was Reliance Nippon Asset Management Company. Broking was the next category, with Reliance Securities being adjudged the best brand in this category. Bajaj Capital was also felicitated in the broking category. fourth category was non-banking financial company, and IIFL was the first brand to be felicitated. The next honoree in this category was PNB Housing Finance. LIC Housing Finance was the third best brand in the NBFC category. The next brand to be felicitated in this category was IL&FS Financial Services. Tata Capital was the fourth brand to be honored in the NBFC category. Life insurance was the fifth category, and one of the best brands to be felicitated was Max Life Insurance Company. The second recipient of the BFSI Best Brands was Canara HSBC Oriental Bank of Commerce Life Insurance. The sixth category was the general insurance category, and the first brand to be felicitated was the National Insurance. The second brand to be felicitated in this category was SBI General Insurance Company. Reliance General Insurance Company was the final brand to be felicitated in this category. The penultimate award category was health insurance, and Apollo Munich Health Insurance was the first brand to be felicitated in it. The second brand to be recognized in the same category was Max Bupa Health Insurance. The final category of the evening was microfinance, and the Microfinance Institutions Network, MFIN, was acknowledged in this category.
So ladies and gentlemen, these were the Economic Times Best BFSI Brands for the year 2016. Many congratulations to all of you.
Very pleased to know that ICICI Prudential Mutual Fund has been nominated by ET Best Brands as the symbol of excellence in the mutual fund category. Very happy to know also that the investor centricity that we have brought into this organization is resulting in so much trust that the investors have put on ICICI Prudential Mutual Fund.